about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated, yes,
to our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hippo
Scary dog!
Dancing at Blurnsville.
Futurama.
Good evening. You are listening to a Rattlegion Broadcasting premier podcast, TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the man-did reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Rattledge. And tonight, our favorite show is WWE Payback 2020, brought to you by the good people at the World Wrestling Entertainment. This is a joint show between Raw and SmackDown, and it comes 1 week after their big summer show, SummerSlam. So it's like all the matches they couldn't get on to SummerSlam, kind of, sort of, for a week. You know, instead of doing SummerSlam as 2 nights, they just did 2 back-to-back shows, because why not? They have a residency at the Amway. Why not use it as much as possible? Joining me to talk about Payback is first, from the Superblog Team Up, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Bailey. Chris Bailey, how do you do?
Well, I'm not tapping out via submission, unlike a lot of people on this show, but I'm back in the saddle after some heavy negotiations over here on the work front, and by God, I made it happen today. So the Podsmen are back, baby.
Yes, sir.
Were you able to negotiate Brock Lesnar's contract?
That one is above my pay grade, sadly, gentlemen.
Man.
Yikes.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see. I mean, he's been saying for a while that, like, you know, he saves his money, he likes working on his farm, and they were just willing to throw stupid money at him. Now, like, if he's really good with his money, he probably, you know, the up to $1 million he's gotten to go to Saudi Arabia and wrestle for the WWE all these past years, I would imagine he's like, I've got my kids' college paid off, you know, I've got my land paid off, I don't have to work anymore, I don't have to get beat up for a living, screw this, I'm not coming back. And that would just be the end of it.
Maybe he's going to get a little bit of that dirty con money. Who knows?
Oh, and if that happens, if we get something that says he's hashtag all elite, then all the people who've been bitching and complaining about how lousy he is are going to love him. It's going to be great.
I'm loving him already, Sheehan.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard for me to imagine him taking Tony Khan money. I mean, I guess if he just, like... if
Tony Khan's daddy's money.
Yeah, well, either way, I'm in the camp that says he's just going to stay home. Like, I don't see him going to the UFC.
No, me neither.
Nah.
And if he doesn't, like I said, he likes to be at home. So I think the only way that he takes anyone's money is if it's like for a lot of money, cash up front for very few appearances, doing whatever. I don't know if he'd be worth it for AEW. Like, I don't know if they'd get that many more eyeballs consistently, because whatever event they had him on might get more eyeballs than normal. But then people still have to keep watching they have to retain those viewers, even some of them. And as Jim Cornette keeps pointing out, there's only so many people that like that product the way that it is, and that product's not changing. So, yeah, I don't know if it's worth investing in Brock Lesnar. Let me introduce the other Podsmen to the show. I've neglected to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Cosmic Treadmill, Mr. Chris Sheehan. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how are you? I wish that this show happened on Thursday so they could have called it This Thursday at Thunderdome.
Yes!
I mean, it could have been a
Agreed.
thing, but no, this is a very weird show that kind of came out of nowhere. It's going to be interesting talking about it because it feels like it may not have been quite so necessary, but there were things that happened in it, so it's going to be a fun talk.
Yeah, like I said, it was mostly guys that didn't make the previous show. There was some mix and match stuff, some repeats, but for the most part, like I said, it felt like SummerSlam Part 2.
Yeah,
So-
it's with still some notable absences. I mean, no AJ Styles, no Jeff Hardy, no Daniel Bryan. It feels weird that they have this second night of SummerSlam and we're still missing people.
Indeed. All right. Did anyone see the pre-show match with the Riot Squad and the Iconics?
No.
Okay.
Only the very, very end with the Riot Squad victory, which was pretty good from what I've seen. So the crowd, or the Thunderdome, seemed really into it, and that's when I turned my WWE Network on. So I did enjoy the couple seconds that I did see of it, and Riot Squad won, so all good.
Apparently, they also won on Raw, and now the Iconics are broken up.
Yes, they are, and that's a bit of drama, but that's okay because Peyton Royce equals money, gentlemen, and you know that. I need not tell you.
I'll be curious to see if they split the two of them up over the course of Raw and SmackDown. You know, if they send Billy Kay or Peyton Royce over to SmackDown, keep the other one on Raw since they're broken up. I'll be curious to see. You know, it's weird that they broke them up because they were a really good gimmick as a team.
Mm-hmm.
And Billy basically has no future singles. So let's face it, Peyton Royce can write her ticket. Vince McMahon loves that girl, so you know. She is one of his top prospects. He bet on when he came to one of his top 3 picks for the company, the future of the company. So I don't know what it says about the tag team of the Iconics. I bet you we never see it again. But it was good while we had it, gentlemen.
Yeah, it was nice while it lasted. All right, the pay-per-view kicked off with Bobby Lashley versus Apollo Crews for the U.S. Championship. Bobby Lashley won the championship in 9 minutes and 30 seconds. I like this match a lot. I thought Bobby Lashley and Apollo Crews worked well together. I thought they told a good story, and they kept this short enough that I didn't lose interest. Chris Bailey.
Yes, sir. So I agree with you on this. This was actually a solid match, and which surprised me because every time I see Apollo Crews come to the ring, I want to vomit. But this was actually pretty good. And you know what? Bobby Lashley wins via submission with a full Nelson, which I loved. I love the idea. But listen, Apollo Crews was on fire. He was doing all his key spots. This guy can move. I mean, he's got his moonsaults. He's got his dives over the top rope. He's got his power moves. He's the full package. He's just he just doesn't connect with those fans. And getting that U.S. title off him definitely needed to happen. I love the trio of Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin, I got to say. So this was the right way to go. But what were they doing at the end? So right at the very end, good old Apollo Crews decided to go into business for himself and, did the blindside attack from behind. So like the match, no problems. The right finish and a surprising finish with an old school full Nelson.
Yeah, it's weird that, baby faces don't act like faces and, attack people from the back. It, makes no sense to me. But I guess they were trying to save some heat there for Apollo Crews, maybe for, the inevitable return match. So who knows? But I wasn't quite thrilled with the aftermath of the match with Apollo Crews attacking Bobby Lashley from behind. What'd you think, Sheehan?
Yeah, the jumping seemed a little bit out of character there at the end. I think you're right on here. I think they're just trying to save some of Apollo's heat, even though he really doesn't have a whole heck of a lot to begin with. I will say it's about time Lashley got this win and actually got a title. So that's a good thing. I do love the Hurt Business. I think they're a great trio. I think they're wonderful. I don't like the gimmick at the end with the flash photography. That came off kind of like 8th grade TV film class or something. It looked really, really cheesy to me.
Yeah, it did. It really took me out of the live feel.
Yeah, it sure did, and it was it just made me feel like it was it felt cheap. And I don't think that's what they're going for with someone like MVP at the helm. I think they're going for something more opulent and sensational. But that was pretty lame. I'm not looking forward to a rematch because I think Apollo might need a throw him and Shorty G together. Yeah, I mean do a tag team with him or something because he just doesn't have the fire to me. He doesn't quite make me want to vomit, but he also really doesn't make me want to pay attention. Unfortunately,
they've given so much to Apollo Crews, and he's a super great athlete, and I know that he was a hot thing on the independent circuit, but he just can't talk.
No, and the most exciting thing they've given him of lately is his new music that yells out Apollo. It's ooh, that's cool. And then you see Apollo walk out, and it's okay. And
he's got that face. You always talk about punchable faces. This guy has like one that you double fist. Like it's almost babyish.
It's true. Yeah, it does lack maturity besides the beard.
All right, in our next match, Big E defeated Sheamus. Looks like Big E's starting to get a singles push here. It took two out of the three New Day people to get hurt for it to happen, but hey, better late than never. They talked about on Talking Smack, they kind of called him out for like being a part of the trio, and okay, you've done the silly thing now for a while that got you a lot of attention. Why don't you get serious? And he's like, no. We're going to continue to do the New Day stuff because that's what we believe in, and I don't feel like I have to change myself in order to get over. I got over by being this way. I'm going to keep doing it. That was the central argument between him and The Miz. I kind of got what The Miz was saying. Like,
100%.
If you want the brass to take notice of you, and you want more opportunities, you need to be less silly. And his argument seemed to just be doubling down, which I thought was odd. But he's still coming out with all the New Day gimmickry, and they had a hard hitting match. Both of these guys know how to work. Sheamus put him over big time. Match took 12 minutes and 20 seconds. I could have used maybe shaving 3 minutes off of this, but overall, I thought Big E did it. I thought Sheamus did a really, really good job of putting Big E over, and Big E looked like a superstar. I'm anxious to see what they do with him as a singles. Chris Bailey.
Yes, sir. You hit it right on the head. So, this was a combination. The match itself was, as good of a Sheamus match as you could ask for. Big E is always talented, always entertaining in the ring. They did their little finish, went for the bro kick and missed it, and finished him off with the big ending. So we actually had a finisher ending. So one of the tales this entire show was that we're getting finisher endings, which I like. I'm a finisher guy, and I like it. So as for Big E, holding on to his New Day angle, I think it's one of these situations where you got, there's no problem with the Rockers, brother, and then someone goes through the, the barbershop window. I think that's about to happen. So when these other two turds finally decide they're going to show up, I think Big E's going to have some news for him. And I think this guy's got star written all over him. He's jacked, he's funny, he's engaged with the fans, and I think he could do the same thing as a heel. Great. Nothing to complain about here. Thought it was solid.
Sheehan?
I hate the big ending. The big ending is such a soft-looking finisher. I don't think it doesn't show off his power. It doesn't look painful. It's like the high-impact version of the Steiner recliner. It's just there's nothing there.
Okay, you're going to like the worst finisher in the history of professional wrestling.
Because the big ending is damn close. It's like, well, what if I just laid someone down? Well, that's great. It's like weaker than the weakest Cena attitude adjustment. It's not great. I love that what they were doing with the Miz, trying to get Big E to be a little bit more serious, and they sort of played that up in the match where instead of going for a pin or going for a power move, Big E did that ridiculous hip swivel. And Corey, I think it was Corey, called him out on it, or whichever show they're on. I think it's SmackDown. Corey called him out on it, saying, hey, he should be more serious. He should have went for a pin there. And they made it like a momentary thing where Sheamus did get like a tiny bit of control after that, but I don't think they did it quite far enough. I think that Big E should have really paid for that, but for taking his eye off the prize and just going back to the shtick. I think Sheamus should have like pounded him for a little bit before Big E got the the big comeback. Instead, it was just like, just a little slip up. Oh, he didn't get that pin, but Big E's still in control. I don't think they really played that off the way they could have. I think the match went the way it should have went. I think Big E is definitely a star in the making, and it's not a second too soon.
All right, in our next contest, Matt Riddle took on King Corbin, or as my son calls him, the douche. And King Corbin on SmackDown has had a bounty out on Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle has had to deal with Chad Gable, among others, trying to take him out. And so this was set to be, I think, the conclusion of their angle. But after Matt Riddle defeated him in 10 minutes 55 seconds, and what I thought was a really solid match. Like King Corbin, I think we've all kind of like picked at the fact that like his matches are just slow and suck, slow and plodding and boring and all of that. And I actually say his work with Matt Riddle, I think he's picked it up a notch. That it must be whoever he's working with, because I like this match. I thought Matt Riddle and King Corbin actually had a good wrestling match, with the emphasis on wrestling. And, King Corbin kept cutting Matt Riddle off. Matt Riddle would get some heat. King Corbin would cut him off again. And finally Matt Riddle turned the tables on Corbin and pinned him 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the mat. And I have to say, like, that's probably the best I've seen King Corbin look in months. Matt Riddle really puts a shine on him. Matt Riddle is a superstar. I'll be curious to see what they do with Matt Riddle next. Though, King Corbin attacked him after the match, so I would assume this is not over just yet. But, so far we've had a solid night of wrestling. I have no complaints about any of the matches so far, including this one. We'll go over to you first, Sheehan.
I thought this match went a little too long, and it was a little too 50-50. I thought this was going to be like a bigger, like, splash debut, a pay-per-view debut for Riddle, and didn't quite get that. It felt like rather than, dominating and getting a win rather easily, he just eked it out. It was interesting, and I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but I think, did they reference like the Riddle like cheating on his wife thing during the
yes?
Oh
during
yeah,
the
they
build?
did. They did indeed.
Why? Oh boy.
Especially without explaining further. I mean, they just hinted that he had, his dealing with problems at home.
Yeah, he's like
right?
not a good guy at home, and then they just left it at that.
Especially when
I haven't been following the news, so I had no idea what they were talking about.
Especially when the allegations are a little bit more sinister than just him cheating on his wife. I mean, there's a lot you could read into there if you go by the accuser, what she said. So I don't know why you address that unless.
Tell us the dirt. I don't even know the entire story. What is being said?
Well, it was a month or two ago when a lot of the ladies of wrestling were, naming names on social media about abuses and being taken advantage of. That's how Riddle's infidelity came up.
Okay,
and
allegedly.
Alleged, of course.
So hang on with the Matt Riddle thing. The one thing I'm aware of in this story is that, according to Riddle, she's been accusing him of stuff for a while now. And that he's had private investigators get involved in this, and he's had, whatever happened with him and her,
yeah.
it was not. He's not a rapist. This isn't the Velveteen Dream situation.
Yes.
But
the allegations came out around the same time, so it's easy to conflate it, especially with how leading and baiting the story was.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. I'll let you continue.
Oh, that's basically all I had to say about it. Was just it seems like a very strange thing to want to put into our professional wrestling program. It feels like one of those things maybe we just don't bring up. Are they going to pay it off? Are we going to see court documents on SmackDown this week? I mean, is the private investigator going to like stick his head in the room and be like, "You're all clear, Matt"? I just don't see the point of it if you're not going to build off of it.
I think that they brought it up as a way for Corbin to get at Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle has been physically been able to stand up to King Corbin and anyone they threw at him. So this is King Corbin trying to jab at him mentally. So
does it make a single dollar though?
Does any of this make a single dollar?
These days, no. But I mean, this might lose you some dollars.
Yeah, like I said, I had forgotten about the girl that was accusing him of things and him saying like, "Look, this is not new. I've been dealing with this for a while, and it's in the there's only so much I can say about it." I wasn't aware that he was being accused of cheating on his wife. I didn't even know he was married. So that was all news to me. Bailey, what'd you think of the match?
And the match was, just fine. It's a typical Corbin match, but like you said, I think there was a little bit more oomph under Corbin's hood during this one. It looked like he wanted to go out and put on a good show. I like the fact that this guy is still dragging this gimmick to almost a year longer than it ever should have gone. He's even getting more ridiculous. He's got the large throne. He's got that tiny scepter that he holds wrong, and annoyingly so. You know what I mean? Like, he's still beating this to death. Like, there's no reason we should still be seeing King Corbin on our TV screens at all. But he still does it, and it still draws heat because I hate his guts. But very serviceable match here. Now, Riddle looked a little step off to me, to be quite honest with you. It almost looked like he was maybe preoccupied a little. No, not by this situation. Maybe that was part of the entire gimmick. But once again, we had a good finisher here. We had the the go to sleep followed by the floating bro for the win. So, and then they announced that Riddle had to react emotionally about the win. So, they really emphasized that he was, caught off guard by Corbin. Yeah, huge upset, right? So, really, did it elevate Riddle? I'm going to say no, and really there was no need to bring up the wife situation unless you're dragging the wife out into court documents. Like, it serves really no purpose. But then again, as soon as this match ended, he attacked him again backstage. So Corbin, got his heat back. So I really don't know what the point of this is, and I don't really need to see another installment of this feud. But
all right, in the continuing saga of Bayley and Sasha Banks, they lost to the mixed match team of Shayna and Party Girl Nia Jax. I'm sorry, I haven't been watching Raw. When did Nia Jax become a lunatic? Anyone know?
Sunday.
Oh boy, she's it was. She's really aloof. I mean, that interview she does after. So basically, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, they win the tag titles. Okay, they win it in literally, Baszler wins it herself with a double submission.
Yeah, that was a great finish.
That was a great finish and a great angle. So it continues the whole Bayley and Sasha storyline. So this did everything it should have. A great finish. And then they had the post-match interview with just, Jax just belligerent. I mean, she wasn't even making sense. She was hogging the camera. She was all over the place, almost like Roddy Piper on crack. And I really don't even know what the purpose of it was, other than to show that this girl's taking leave of her senses and she's a little bit aloof. But we got brand new tag team champions. Yeah. Jax and Baszler are the new women's tag team champions, and now Sasha is Sasha No Belts. So there you go.
I'll tell you what, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, that's an imposing team. Like, it's weird they made Nia Jax a crazy person, and if the angle with this team is going to be that like Nia Jax is nuts, but Shayna Baszler does all the work. I'll be curious. This is going to end up being the Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, tag team partners who don't get along kind of a thing. But we'll see how long they actually hold on to the titles. I mean, I think if they can get on the same page, if they write them to be on the same page and calm Nia Jax the fuck down, then I think that's a team that could roll for a while over the women's tag team division, such as it is. But if they're going to continue to do Nia Jax is crazy and Shayna Baszler does all the work, I can't imagine this team lasts very long. That dynamic seems to invite someone who's a more unified unit taking advantage of them.
I feel that they were supposed to say something in that post-match interview, like to say that they weren't friends, but Nia Jax was just so all over the place. It looked like Shayna Baszler just gave up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably. They were supposed to be, like you say, they were supposed to be something that she was supposed to say, and she was just like, never mind.
That was literally never mind.
Yeah, you don't bring Charlie into the ring for no reason. So yeah, there probably was something they were supposed to try to get across there. I thought this was just I compare this less like Austin and Michaels and more like that weird short-lived tag team between Matt Hardy and MVP back on like SmackDown in the mid-2000s, where like MVP was just all about like hogging the glory and Hardy was the one doing all the work. I felt that was a really fun dynamic and just allowed them both to show a lot of personality, even Hardy as the straight guy. And I think Baszler being like the straight character is I think there's a lot of potential for fun in that, because like she just like threw her hands up. She's like, well, I guess we're gonna just go celebrate right now. Okay, fine, we'll just go. I thought that was awesome. The match itself was cool. I liked that Sasha didn't tap out. It was Bayley who tapped out because Bayley's already got a belt. So if she loses this belt, she's still got one in reserve. Where her tapping out caused Sasha to lose her belt. And
But every single time she's lost a belt, it's because Bayley failed to do something or caused it. So it works well within the plan. It's perfect.
This totally fits in the story, and it totally it's just the next chapter in their soap opera, and I think it was done very, very well. And I mean, if you got to do it and give Baszler this amazing rub here, because as soon as she hooked that like heel hook on Sasha, I'm like, there's no way they're going to do it this way, and they did it that way. She hooked Bayley in the clutch and got them both down. It was just amazing. I loved it.
Yeah, I like the addition of using Sasha's arm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to choke Bayley out.
That was classic. Loved it.
Yeah, you heard this behind-the-scenes stuff that like Vince doesn't like Shayna Baszler and that she was being de-pushed. I'm glad they're using her this way. I mean, I'm glad that cooler voices prevailed, and they're still using Shayna Baszler in a good way because she's so talented, and and she doesn't have much shelf life. I think she's in her 40s, is what they were saying. So how much longer can she possibly do this? So get the most out of her that you can.
Yeah, and I love that they're giving her a title, but they're not giving her one of the main titles because I think that's where you run into the trouble with Baszler because, once you beat her, the shine's off. And if you give her a belt, she's eventually going to have to lose a belt. So this way, we have the out where Nia, the acid could kick in during the middle of the match and she'll just fall down and start looking at the colors. So there's an out to not make her look weak in losing a title. Whereas if they just gave her the the red belt or the blue belt, they have to eventually beat her, and then she'll lose it in the ring, or they'll have to do some sort of weird 3-way thing. But I think this is a really good use of her, and I'm looking forward to seeing more.
I'm just glad that they didn't end up making her a permanent fixture on Raw Underground, that popular show.
Are they still doing that?
Let me see. I don't recall seeing anything last night. Now, I've only watched about an hour of Raw, but
I haven't seen it yet either.
I think they do. I think they do go underground, but
wow.
I think that's a dead pony there, if you ask me.
I didn't know if they did it still. I didn't with the Thunderdome. I thought maybe they might have just brushed that under the rug, but I guess not.
All right, Keith Lee defeated Randy Orton in just under 7 minutes, 6 minutes 40 seconds. I like this match. Randy Orton dominated Keith Lee. Keith Lee, by the way, I saw what he came out in on Raw. He looked ridiculous, and then they tried, as if they were like listening to the internet, they tried to change it up, and this time they gave him Sarah Logan's furs.
Oh, loincloth.
He came out with almost like a grass skirt. Like, it was the weirdest thing. What was the purpose of it? Like, what does it mean?
They're trying to dress him up and make him look more special. Like, they don't have to. He has natural physical charisma. Like, they don't, but God fucking damn, the main roster.
His gimmick means nothing too, Mark. Limitless, okay. But what does that mean? How does that reflect in the ring?
His gimmick is that he's a big fat guy that can move. That's his whole thing. Like, Keith Lee's whole persona is wrapped up in the fact that he's a big fatty who can move like a cruiserweight. That's his gimmick. And they feel like that's not enough, so we'll dress him in different retarded outfits.
But does Limitless match that? What you're just explaining to me? Fatty who can move, limitless.
Yeah,
it's not about weight limits; it's about no limits.
Oh, listen to TNA boy right there. Perfectly done, sir.
So they had this match. Randy Orton, was the wily veteran was beating down the rookie, and then the rookie got one moment where he just wrecked Randy Orton in less than 7 minutes and got the come from behind victory. I actually like that. I like the way that this match, I like the fact that they just didn't shit, all over Randy Orton as much as I don't like the guy. That the match made sense, the story they were telling made sense, and the new guy got the big push. He got a big win over a main event guy. So good on Keith Lee. What'd you think, Sheehan?
They changed his music. I couldn't enjoy the match. No, I thought the match was okay. I like the way they did this. I was actually surprised when Randy didn't kick out of the bomb. I thought they were just going to move into the end game at that point. So I was really surprised when he didn't kick out. Thought it was a good way to do it. Didn't hurt Randy so much, especially since Randy is. I'm guessing he's probably going to get another shot at Drew pretty soon. And it helped elevate Lee. I like that both Lee and Riddle, the two most recent call-ups, or the most notable call-ups, are both leaving here with wins. I think that's definitely the right move, and maybe goes a little bit against the narrative about the main roster. Maybe not totally, but a bit. It's baby steps, but they're in the right direction.
Yeah, well, they keep saying, and I keep hearing that the problem with it internally, they've recognized the problem with the WWE is they have to create new stars, which means pushing new people. So, the two newest people are Matt Riddle,
Big Keith Lee,
and Big Keith Lee, right? So yeah, I'm not going to knock the company when they're doing the right thing. I'm not going to just purposely shit on them. So I think so. Like I said, so far the show has been really, really solid, and a lot of good matches, and they're doing mostly the right things with Keith Lee and Matt Riddle. Maybe maybe the wardrobe guy needs to leave Keith Lee alone. Just let him come out in his hoodie. Go ahead, Bailey.
Yep. No. So you talk about Randy Orton. Everybody puts this guy over as the second coming of Christ, and this is a good example of why he is there, because he put this guy over. And not only did he put him over, like every power move he did, he sold shock and couldn't believe, that he was able to do this. Every high-flying move, he sold it. Like he put over that, oh my God, even Randy Orton is shocked that this guy can move as well as he did. And, maybe I'm a little bit overmatched here. And, I mean, this is coming from a veteran. So from a veteran perspective, putting over, a relative rookie, to television, this was a big deal for Lee. And some of the subtle things that Randy Orton did. So take a look at that Spirit Bomb at the end. So every match on this card seems to end where someone goes for a finisher and then somebody busts out their own finishing move and goes for the win. So, Randy goes to hit the RKO. He misses. And, you have Lee hit the Spirit Bomb. And just watch how Orton takes this Spirit Bomb. He just doesn't lay flat back. He sort of arches up on his back to give that extra impact. You know what I mean? To look, make it look extra devastating. And I really, really thought that he sold the shock. And I think they got everything that they intended out of this match. I mean, it was no, 5-star, Tokyo Dome Dave Meltzer special by any means. Not an AEW match at all. But this was as good as you want, and it got the intended purpose. Finisher, hit, move, hit a finisher for the win. No problems here. The right guy won, and I think that you elevated a star here tonight. So another win, man.
You talk about like it's not an AEW match. It didn't need to be 20 minutes. Like if this had been 20 minutes, I'd have killed myself.
I was joking. I was being sarcastic. No, it's definitely not a Tokyo Dome classic. I mean, that's just a joke at this point. And the AEW style is something you don't want to see repeated. And I'm just happy that we have matches that actually have finishers with finishing moves. Hit your finisher once and get the win. Exactly what it should be. And this is exactly what this.
There's not a single match here except for this next one that was over 15 minutes long, which is
no
great.
More it should be. It's perfect. I agree. And the length of the pay-per-view itself is perfect. It's overall, WWE seems to have figured out that this is the amount of time that we can pull stuff off without dragging it out and please our fan base. They're doing a lot of things right here. And with the Roman Reigns heel turn that we'll see a little bit later and everything else, I mean, I think, man, the past month of TV, they've been delivering the goods, man. And I think AEW needs to be very concerned with the big boys are finally turning the tide like they always do.
All right, in our longest match of the evening at 16 minutes, we had Dominic Mysterio and his dad, Rey Mysterio, defeating the Monday Night Messiah and his disciple, Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy. And Murphy took the pin, which annoyed the ever-loving piss out of Seth Rollins, which was pretty hilarious. And even though Dominic Mysterio got his ass beat at SummerSlam, they got a little bit of their heat back, a little bit of their shine with a tag team defeat, which Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy can definitely afford. I thought this was a really good match. I thought that There were a lot of good hope spots for Dominic and Ray. Seth is not a bad wrestler. I think he, we've criticized him for not being a great talker at times, and that his gimmick, they're not doing anything with it. He just kind of says the same thing over and over again. But, when he gets in the ring, when he's not in there with a ridiculous wrestler like The Fiend or whatever, I think Seth Rollins delivers the goods. Buddy Murphy is also obviously really tight, really good wrestler, and they put on a good match. It's hard for me to find anything critical to say when they're not like blatantly fucking things up or taking too long or anything like that. I don't mind one match going 15 to 20 minutes long. It's when it's like 4 matches in a row and they're all at the beginning where I'm like, enough already with this. So, Bailey, we'll stick with you here. What'd you think of the Mysterios versus the Monday Night Messiah?
You know what? And I made it clear I'm no Seth Rollins fan by any means. Buddy Murphy, I shouldn't like that guy, but I sort of do. That guy's jacked. He's got a great repertoire in the ring. I think this all worked well. I think that both parties really delivered exactly what they should be doing. You got to see Dominic, overachieve, I will say, because, everything he hit was very crisp. He's doing a 619 better than his dad. The one thing that I dislike about this whole feud is that you got Rey Mysterio, who's playing the pandering, no, don't hurt my son angle. You know what I mean? When his son is doing damn well by himself. As for Dominic, this is the guy that the merchandise and dress department really needs to get a hold of, because he needs something a little bit more flashy. He's got that baby, super baby face that, maybe he needs a mask. Maybe he needs something extra with his package, because no doubt the guy can wrestle. He's clearly trained and very good. I like how he finishes. So think about when Dominic Mysterio first debuted as a child on SmackDown. Do you remember what his first angle was?
I'm your poppy.
Yes, the son of Eddie Guerrero. That's what Eddie said he was going to be his son. And look at Dominic's finisher, which is the Frog Splash, which I really think is cool, because is he still Eddie Guerrero's
paying
son?
homage to his real father?
I thought that was a very, very cool twist. I really like this, man. This was just a fun match. You could just sit back and enjoy wrestling, and another finisher. This whole card was just right. Right people win with finishers, and just entertaining. I was entertained the entire night, and that's all I want from my wrestling in WWE. Great job.
Go ahead, Shane.
This felt a lot like this whole show. It felt kind of like an In Your House from back in the day, where it didn't feel like we were getting these big sweeping sort of momentous changes, but outside of the main, of course. But we had a lot of fun matches that all for the most part clicked. I did think this might have went a little, maybe a couple minutes too long. I was getting kind of fatigued throughout it. It felt like they were just doing the same thing over and over again. I think that when you do the hope spot and the comeback, you shouldn't do it too many times, and I think we had that a few too many times here. I don't know if this is just me being a Russo era wrestling fan, but I swear every time that the Mysterios are in the ring, I'm waiting for Dominic to turn on Ray.
Yeah,
I feel like it's coming. I hope it's not, because I think that let's make the kid a babyface. But I keep feeling like it's coming every single time. There's this weird energy that I feel like Seth's eventually gonna get through to Dominic, and he'll turn on Ray. But
and it's all about positioning. You're exactly right. Mm-hmm. So every single time, just take a look at these subtle details that they layer in here. So every single time that Dominic loses or wins, how they position him in the ring as the heels run off, victorious, or leave somebody laying. Rey Mysterio is always in the foreground, and Dominic is always in the background. And you know what that always means? That's your subtle hint that somebody's getting kicked in the can or something like that. And they're constantly doing it. So that tease is there, even subtly. And I agree with you that the Russo era swerve, brother, is definitely in play here.
It was even like when Ray was handcuffed last week during SummerSlam. I was expecting either Dominic to leave him there or to just take the kendo stick and start whacking him while he was handcuffed. Of course, that didn't happen, but that's where my mind went initially. One thing about Dominic, I'm so happy he lost the damn hood. because that looked goofy last week.
Yeah.
Every time he flip-flopped, that hood would flop up or flop down. It just looked so dumb.
I don't understand why he's like he has a halfway decent body. Just wrestle without your damn jacket on.
Yeah, get a singlet of some sort. I don't know, but yeah, the weird jacket. It looks a little cumbersome and distracting.
Do you think if they had crowds, the crowds would be booing Dominic? It's kind of the same way they booed The Rock when he was the blue chipper.
I
That's a
don't
great
think at
question.
this point. I think if it carries on very much longer, that it will eventually happen. I think that right now you're still in your infancy stage where, you're getting a bit of mileage out of him. He's got a little bit of sympathy. You want him to do well. He's still got that little bit of surprise in what he can do. I think as the months go on, I think if you leave it one more month, yeah, they're going to boo this mofo.
Well, right now he's tied in a blood feud with Seth Rollins, and so I think most crowds are okay with him like fighting for his dad's honor, fighting for his family's honor, that sort of thing. If they start pushing him against other guys, I think people are going to turn on Dominic. As like, oh, you didn't really earn it. You got your position because you're Ray's son, that sort of thing.
I could definitely see that.
So we'll see. All right. So the next one was supposed to be a triple threat. This was stupid. We just did a no holds barred match with the Fiend and Braun Strowman. So they basically wrestled like 9 minutes out of 10. The whole thing was actually 12 minutes 46 seconds, but you know what I mean. They wrestled 9/10 of this match themselves, and then Roman Reigns walked out, signed a contract, speared Braun Strowman, and won the title. Okay. That I don't understand how that works. Now you can just show
This
up.
should have been saved as his debut appearance. Have the open contract sitting there. Will he show up? Won't he? And then all of a sudden he comes in, signs the contract, boom. But instead, he just comes out. He didn't wrestle the entire match. And like you said, we've already seen this match. I didn't need to see it. And it was not a good match. They had one of the worst stunt bumps you'll ever see off the stage. Like you talk about, it's like falling off your chair that I'm sitting in right now to the floor.
Yeah, they fell about 8 inches. Come on, dude. How do you learn how to fall off an 8-inch stage? My God!
Sure, by the time you're ready to actually fall, you're already landed.
I can't get past the fact that he just showed up at the end of the match, signed his, and that was okay.
And it was cool, yeah.
You can't even ring the bell unless everybody's involved in the match. That's I don't know. I thought that was stupid. Why couldn't he wrestle the entire match? Why did he have to only? Why did he only? Was he only a part of the finish? And then they just threw the title back on him.
Because the honor is gone. He's with Heyman now, so all the rules of babyface don't apply here. So he's going to go for the cheap win. He's going to try to cash in.
How about the rules of wrestling?
Fair enough.
They rang the bell. I don't know why they didn't just bring Reigns out there to start and then just have him nope out right at the beginning and be like, yep, see you guys later, and then maybe come back afterward. It would have made a little bit more sense. It still would have been stupid. But with the way they did it,
have him come out, they ring the bell, and he just jumps out of the ring and walks to the back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then have him come out and see that I would have more bought.
Sure. Or had him drive out in the Vince Russo Pope mobile. And he's like, hey, you can't get me. I'm out here. You can't get me. And then after the ring imploded, he have him come on out, or maybe have him run the Fiend over and count the pin that way. But
did the ring properly implode? By the way, do you remember when Big Show was suplexed in the middle of the ring and that damn thing completely collapsed to the ground? Referee goes tumbling, sailing off to the side of the camera. This thing just
sort of posts went down.
Yes, this thing
this is the Great Value implosion.
We all know about Great Value, brother.
Another card where almost all of it's really, really solid. Very good wrestling. No complaints. And we get to the main event. And the main event is garbage. All right, I'm done with Braun Strowman. I'm done with the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Both these guys need to get off television for a while. I don't know who Roman Reigns. Let Roman Reigns deal with Big E or Matt Riddle. Or
let's get King Corbin back into the mix.
No, we don't need that either. Shut your face.
Shut up, Sheehan.
I'm putting it out there. It's in the universe now.
But yeah, I don't need to see Braun Strowman or the Fiend for a while. Both of them need to take a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, you're not wrong. And I mean, they were teasing the entire Alexa Bliss thing. So Alexa's like, wantingly looking at the monitor out back as she watches, the Fiend take on Strowman here, and they're building towards something. Is she going to evolve into Sister Abigail? What is her purpose and plan in life? We don't know.
She has one dreadlock now, so yeah.
Yeah, we have no idea where this is headed, and we're about to not care because I'm sick and tired of the Fiend as well. They just gave him the belt and then they strip it right off him right away. As for Strowman, wow, I don't know if there's anybody I want off my TV more than him right now, and I mean that's saying a lot when I'm talking about Apollo Crews and Randy Orton. So I mean, as for Reigns, I got to say, seeing him come to the ring with Paul Heyman is something very cool. And that's about the only thing I could say about that. The match itself was, I can't call it good. It's probably the worst match that I would say on the show, but it still entertained me to see the ending. And what I do not like about it was that they carried it on a little bit too long. Both guys did the entire cash in the Money in the Bank, but no, you're not going to get me easy. I'm going to kick out of a couple finishers. So smartly booked, they didn't have an entire card of people kicking out of their finishers because they saved it for the last match, which is good 101 standard wrestling booking. If you're, you don't want to kill the stunt bump if you're going to do 5 stunt bumps early on in the card. So they saved it up. And, well, they didn't do the stunt bump here either because it was the worst stunt bump in the history of bumps here, in my opinion. But overall, nothing really to crow about during this main event. And Reigns is your new champion after pinning Strowman, of all people.
Yeah, Bailey, you got any, Shane, you got any last words on this match?
Just that I like the Reigns story. I like that they're giving him a little bit more depth right now with Heyman. The match was what it was, and it was crap. I'm happy it's over because it was just not a good match. Like you guys both said, we saw this match last week with Strowman and the Fiend, and I think we talked about the Karrion Kross and Keith Lee match last week, where like you had this match that played to neither of their strengths, and you got Braun Strowman, and his whole thing is that he's big and strong, and you got the Fiend throwing him around like he's nothing. And the Fiend's whole gimmick is that he's impervious to pain, but you have Braun beating the crap out of him. So it's like we're going against everything we've been trained to think about these characters and their somewhat supernatural power sets, but it's not helping anybody out. And I don't see that, the ring exploding or imploding, however they put it. It felt like, the law of diminishing returns here. You can't do that so often. And I feel like the first and second time we did it, it was like a decade apart. And now we're doing it just a couple years later. It feels like we're cheapening the spot. And we're cheapening it for characters who didn't really get anything out of it. I don't know that this is going to make the highlight reels because it came across so shitty. It just didn't look as spectacular as it should. So it's like you're going to have the 2 previous ones that looked amazing, and then you're going to have this one that kind of shits the bed. It doesn't really fit the highlight reel. It doesn't fit the story. And, I mean, did Reigns know this was going to happen? Did he gimmick the ring to explode so he knew when to come and hit the ring? It just...
Well, it didn't all the way explode. That's another problem. Like,
True.
the stunt bump was flat. The ring
True.
didn't entirely explode. It was like everything was half-assed about this. And think
Exactly.
about this. If you're a fan who follows chronology, like if you're a comic book fan and for years and years and years, you know every beat, every storyline, everything from a character. So if you're sizing this up, these guys got eaten by alligators 2 pay-per-views ago, guys. So, you know what I mean? At horror shows. So now you have them repeating that lazy-ass match here again. It's half-assed. The stunts don't work. Yep. The overall vibe doesn't work. And then Reigns just comes in and cashes in on both. So, I mean, these 2 players, like Mark said, they just need to come off our TV for a while and freshen up.
And sadly, Vince McMahon does not send out no prizes, so you can't figure any sort of chronological explanation for any of this, unfortunately.
What is going on with Vince McMahon? Somebody explain. His voice seems like he's got jelly throat, where he's just barely being able to pronounce his words, like instead of his profound "by God" type voice, it's like it's gone all like loose and rubbery. You know what I mean? Have you picked up on that?
Oh yeah, he looks a shell of himself. I remember when we watched Money in the Bank, and you had Brian and AJ in his office, and then there was this doddering little old man there, and it's like, oh God, that's Vince.
Oh, my wife looked at him the other night, and they were like, "Oh my, Vince looks like he's about to die." And I was like, I couldn't disagree. He's got that jelly throat, you know what I mean? Like the jowls on the face that are just that shake when he speaks, and he's got a really like old man voice. Yeah. It's a shame.
But speaking of Vince here, early night, Miguel showed up, and I could have sworn it was Vince from 20 years ago. He showed up in Keith Lee's locker room, and and it looked like a Vince circa like 1999, 2000. What the hell?
Right.
And it was JBL. So maybe he can be the. They can move Vince's brain into JBL's body, and we can continue this on for another 40 years.
I'm sure
the superior Spider Vince.
I'm sure if Vince could figure out a way to extend his to get his brain into a younger body, he'd have done it by now.
Oh, for sure.
You're damn right.
For sure. He's got there's a basement full of bodies. He's just trying to pick one.
All right. So overall, I would give this pay-per-view an A-. The only thing that was wrong with it was the main event. The rest of it was really good, really solid. I'll tell you, the weird thing about this one was, I don't watch Raw. I very rarely watch SmackDown. I pretty much just keep to watching NXT and AEW, and I usually watch them like the next day on DVR. And I do that because there's so much repetition, between the actual matches, doing them 2 and 3 times over a circuit, and then all the replays that they do. I'm like, I just don't feel the need to keep up with this live anymore. So when, I was anxious to watch SummerSlam, but then I needed a break. I was kind of annoyed that there was back-to-back big WWE shows, and I was not excited to watch Payback. I almost didn't. I'm like, I got home at 8 o'clock, and my wife was like, "Oh, let's put on wrestling," and I'm like, I kind of don't want to, but there was nothing else to watch because new Family Guy doesn't start until the 27th, so. But I really found myself not looking forward to this, thinking that this was going to suck. This was not a big deal pay-per-view. This is one of their you said it before. This is like one of their in your houses, and I was glad I did. I watched it over 2 nights because I started at 8 o'clock, so I came home and the Matt Riddle King Corbin match had just ended, and so I watched the rest of it live, and then I watched the first half of it the next day, and I was like, wow, this was really good. Despite my reservations about watching 2 big pay-per-views in a row, this ended up being really, really good, and SummerSlam was pretty good too. So I think I'm turning a corner in the WWE where I don't hate it as much, but I don't hate it as much because I don't watch it as often as I used to. Does that make sense?
Less opportunity to be fatigued and disappointed, for sure. Yes. I totally get it.
I agree. And I think the product itself has rebounded a bit. I think it's taken the advice of its public and finally listening for once. I mean, they're trying a couple weird things, guys. Let's give WWE credit, and I don't often do this enough because I've been really giving them the gears for the past 6 months. Due to their response to COVID and their shitty canned wrestling that they had. But they figured it out, guys. Thunderdome is genius. It's a lot better than what the offerings were, including AEW, which I praise for how they've adapted to COVID. But WWE has this figured out. They brought the big noise with the big heel turn with Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? They're stepping outside the box. And as much as fun as we make of Raw Underground, it's something different that they're trying. So there's different things going, and one of the best things about WWE when they're on the ropes or business is down is that they try stuff and they come out of the woodwork with something new and unique. And right now, they don't have any competitors because they're back on their game. And as far as I'm concerned, they delivered 2 back-to-back shows. And I'm sad that I missed talking about SummerSlam and NXT because I love both of those products as well. So I'm very happy with my current WWE right now. So I'm perfectly satisfied as a fan, and for the $9.99 USD that I pay for my WWE network, I couldn't be more happy.
All right, Sheen, I'll give you the last word.
I just echo a lot of the stuff that Bailey just said. I feel like we're on an upswing here. I feel like the talent has they're taking the reins back. It felt like throughout most of this pandemic era, it's been very, very, very lax and very unmotivated. Just those static like wrestling challenges you'd see where it was where all you'd get was squash matches. But we're not getting squash matches. We're getting actual star versus star stuff. But the stakes just aren't there. It feels like we're watching Hercules beat up Dusty Wolf or something. It's just nothing that I can invest in. And now, since it's only been a couple weeks, but since they got this Thunderdome going, it feels like there's a fire in the bellies again. And I hope that it continues because it's clear now that the talent cares. Where like a month and a half ago, it feels like they were. And I mean, I'm projecting here, but it feels like they were like forced to be there. They didn't want to be there. It was the last thing they wanted to do. Where now, they seem to be there of their own volition, and they're really raising the bar, getting it back to pre-COVID momentum.
Yeah, I have to imagine that the psychology of having to wrestle in the Performance Center past WrestleMania.
Oh, it's soul killer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I watched the 24, the show must go on, and a lot of the statements from the wrestlers were like, we've never done this before, so this, so I think like going into WrestleMania, there was already a lot of momentum. I know a lot of them didn't want to drop their storylines, and they were like, okay, well, at that point, we're still talking about the beginning of April, and the lockdown wasn't that old yet, and so I think there was a lot of, like the Dropkick Murphys did a streaming show, and there was all these different things happening. There were all these celebrities doing stuff on Zoom. It was like, come on, we're going to pull through this, and I think there was a lot of that kind of energy.
A lot of novelty, yeah.
Yeah, but I think as it wore on, I think you're right. I think a lot of them were just like, I don't want to perform in an empty gym anymore.
Yeah.
Just completely disconnected from the fans, from the lifeblood of the WWE, as we're finding out. And so now I think that they're at least in an arena. There's an audience through Zoom that they can physically interact with. We talked about last week at SummerSlam, like Bayley, like kicking at the videos. Some of them I think like we're like talking to the Zoom boxes. I think that's the kind of stuff that these performers that gets them excited, and it shows in their matches because the improvements from like say Money in the Bank till now are astronomical.
Oh yeah, 100% agree.
And we're not getting the cinematic matches anymore.
No, I think
they've retired that concept.
Wait a second. This was a cinematic match in itself. This bag of dicks at the end here.
Yeah, it was a horror show.
That's all it needed was a soundtrack. We could have had Glenn Hurdling use his rude hand noises to play behind this one.
I think they realized that the cinematic matches had worn themselves out and that they needed to get back to what they do best. The WWE puts on a great live performance for a live audience, and that's what they do. That they do it well. They do it better than most, and I think that's what they feel like. They needed to find a way to get back to that sooner than later, and they did. I think I said last week I was prepared to hate the Thunderdome, but I actually kind of like it. So, all right,
me too.
That wraps up our review of WWE Payback. Later on tonight, Sheehan's going to join me again, along with Al Sedano of the Warlock and Thanos podcast, to discuss. I just finished reading this. You guys are going to have to help me. The Demon Bear saga from the New Mutants, the inspiration to the new movie that's out right now. So we're going to talk about that tonight. Yesterday, we put out a slew of content. Dave Wright finally got his Star Trek retrospective up from a month ago. So we talked about the first 6 Star Trek movies. That was fun.
Really good job, too, by the way. Really, really strong first episode.
Thank you. And, well, he certainly spent enough time editing it. And then we did reviews for The New Mutants and Bill and Ted Face the Music. Tomorrow, Jesse Starcher is actually going to join Alexis Hana, and we're going to do a source material for Bill and Ted Save the Universe. And then in theory, always in theory, Sean Comer and I are supposed to do a Long Road to Ruin for Bill and Ted, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and then Bogus Journey. So you can check all that out. Last week, we had a couple of shows for you. We had the one and only Ivan, SummerSlam, as we've been talking about, and Unleash the Archers, Abyss. So you can check those out in the archives. Chris Bailey, what do you got going on?
Well, we got a brand new project called Super Book Club Team Up, where we just covered The Fade Out. So it's a brand new little deal where a couple of bloggers, we get together and we actually review a book together. So you'll get to see 3 or 4 different opinions talking about a book. And we also got Mr. Chris Sheehan to join our ranks for the next one. And we're going to be covering Bitter Root by Image coming up next. So that should be a fun, if not interesting, spin on that. So really, really happy to do that.
Did we decide we were doing Volume 1 or the whole 10-issue series?
I'm game for anything. I would love to cover it all if it was up to me. So I think we'll take a vote on that and we'll do that. So
okay.
We'll see what the masses do, but I definitely want to do the whole thing. Outside of that, you can check myself and Mr. Chris Sheehan over on Moratory Mondays, which I'm super proud of that show. We're covering Strikeforce Moratory, but we're into the woods, man. We are into the final issues. There's only 31 issues. We just finished issue 27, and that show is super, super amount of fun. We don't only cover Strikeforce Moratory. We get into back matter discussions like you've never seen, like Marvel jackets that'll get your ass kicked in the schoolyard. We talk about WrestleMania, the VHS game on this particular one. We cover terrible Marvel profiles and everything else that you could possibly name in the comic industry. That's Moratory Mondays. And, of course, you can also find me over here with the Radledge gang doing TV Party Tonight with the wrestling. So that's Chris Bailey. And enjoy, by the way, the Demon Bear saga. Now, Mark, I would like a full admission after reading the comic that movie was not too bad. That was not a bad representation of that particular comic. Yes, the movie was a CW train wreck, but it actually suited the book, I would say.
I would say it paid proper homage to the book as best they could with the materials they had.
Bingo, exactly. I'm not saying it's a great movie. What I'm saying is it does its job paying homage to the book. I'll agree with that.
Hey, next week, you and I, we have a TV party on September 8th for AEW All Out. I'm all the way out, baby.
It'll be dangling in the berries, not a problem. I'll be there for some AEW. And guess what? AEW got their hands full this time because WWE just turned the volume way up. So it's going to be interesting to see what the retort is.
Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Sheehan, take us home, baby doll.
You can find me over at chrisisoninfiniteearths.com and a lot of shows at chrisandreggie.podbean.com, including, of course, Moratory Mondays, which Mr. Bailey just told you all about. Just launched a new show today, as a matter of fact. I'm calling it X-Lapsed, which kind of sounds like X-Lax, but it's not. This is my attempt at getting through the current year X-Men stuff, the Dawn of X, Hox Pox sort of thing, which has been sitting on my nightstand for about a year now, and I haven't read a damn thing of it. So this is my way of, like, being accountable for all the hundreds of dollars I'm pumping into Marvel and not actually reading the books. So it'll help me catch up. So X-Lapsed, episode 1 hit today, and episode 2 might hit tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. But other than that, I'll be back for Demon Bear. If my invitation still stands, I will be there. And I think I'll be doing a lot of source material and coming up here as long as Mr. Radulich doesn't give me the boot.
Yep, the next after Demon Bear tonight, the next time we'll have you on will be September 21st for the Kingsman Volume 1.
Kingsman.
So that'll be fun. Yeah.
Do you need some Shiver Me Timbers help, gentlemen? You just let me know.
Okay. All right, folks.
Yar.
For the Podsmen, this is Mark Radulich saying be well, be safe, and behave.